Hi everybody, it's Chris here. Welcome back to 30 for 30, your Excel VBA absolute beginner course. How are you? We've got a beautiful day here in the UK. I'm looking forward to getting back into some Excel VBA, creating value for you, hopefully inspiring you to use VBA in your work to get lots and lots of stuff done. First, if you're watching live, please let me know, can you see me and can you hear me? And I do have one kind of announcement to make, because the past couple of streams, I haven't even mentioned Members Monday. And of course, it is coming up to Monday. What day is it today? It's Saturday today. And if, like me at the moment, you appreciate a reminder of what day it is Saturday today. So I'm kind of wheeling round and thinking, what are we going to do for Members Monday? And Members Monday is the Excel VBA online learning community. What do you get? Well, you get a weekly live stream with me, and we go into more detail than we do with 30 for 30. You get the Members Monday Content Navigator, which is an Excel file that breaks down all of the streams we've done and allows you to access the exact topic you need at the exact point in the video you need. You get access to all the previous streams, 19 previous streams, hour-long Excel VBA tutorials. You get access to the Members Monday Facebook group, and you get to hang out with the community, the people in the chat who have the little symbols by their names. We've got Adrian with us today, Jasmine, Ian Box. They're our members, and a subset of those in turn will be Members Monday members too. So if you want to get behind the channel, and we've got big plans for the channel, we want to move this towards an alternative for MBA education. That's our direction of travel. If you want to get involved, click join below this video and check it out. Good. So welcome to everybody today. Who's with us? Jorgen is with us. Leah's with us. Sorry, Leah, I didn't see you there, mate. Haven't said hello in the chat. Welcome, Lee. Jasmine is with us. How is it cold in California, Jasmine? Like, in my mind, Orange County is just always hot. Incredible stuff. Peter with us from Liverpool. Welcome, Peter. Frank is with us. Welcome, Frank. Ian Box is with us. And Ian Lamb. Bit of a standoff about how many eyes are in Ian. We're dealing with those big questions right here in 30 for 30. Who else is with us? Joanna. Happy Easter, Joanna. And let's go down the chat. Phil Thomas is with us. Welcome, Phil. Welcome, Klaus. Welcome, HD. Welcome, Srikanth. Welcome, Maria from Bulgaria. Great to have you with us. Shiva, welcome. Shiva, is it your first stream? Great to have you with us too. Daniel is with us today as well. Thank you, Daniel. And DC, just checking in at the bottom. Gusa and Stanislav too. Great to have you guys with us. So let's go ahead, get back into the VBA today. And remember, you can download this file. There's a link in the description below the video. You can download the file and work along with us. We want to get to the point where we can start on the data sheet here, and let's have a button. I often do this when I'm building up a VBA macro. Put the button in so you can see how it's going to actually work, or how it should work to the customer. Actually get the button in there. And what's the name of our macro? I think it's sort test. Let's try sort test. And then this button is going to facilitate a custom sort. And that's the purpose of this stream. We're going to try to finish off this macro to enable the customer, the user, to sort the data at the click of a button. So it's useful on its own because it just saves us that interaction with the sort data dialog box, which can be quite clicky. Saves us that interaction, and we're saying maybe we can have a little button or a little drop down menu saying, what do you want to sort by? Choose something you want to sort by. We'll look at doing that as well. But first, we've got to, I'm just seeing the name of the macro here. Yeah, sort test was the right macro. First, we've got to see if we can get this working. So we're working on this code yesterday, particularly looking at how to use dot cells to dynamically define a data range, and it went reasonably well yesterday and had some good questions about dot cells. If you want to learn more about dot cells or just consolidate your understanding, there's a link in the description below this video, Excel VBA dot cells for beginners, 4 videos introducing you to the technique, step by step, building up the difficulty there. So we've defined data range here, and can we just step through the code, hit the F8 key, and okay, we're going to have to go and deal with some of this syntax first, maybe. Let's go and do that. But what's going to happen is this data range variable is a string variable, so it's going to hold an address. And that address is going to be the data range. It's going to be the dimensions of the data set. We can tell because we've specifically asked this variable. It's a string variable, so it's going to want to hold text anyway. We've specifically asked for the address property here. So it's important to see that. That's important to understand because it informs our syntax later. So let's see if we can sort this out. Sheets data. So we're talking about the data sheets. And then dot range data range. I think this is the syntax that we're looking for here. And then here, how about this? No, we don't need another range there. Okay. I think that's going to be okay. We might have to go back and re-record the code or something just to check that. Range sort range here. So let's be specific about the sheets. Data dot range sort range. Okay. So you can see the variable working here, and we can tell it's a variable because there's no speech marks. Yeah, if there are speech marks around it, it might be a named range or just a straightforward reference. Or it might be like a sheet name has speech marks around. This is a variable. It's going to store some information. I'm just going through, not sure about this syntax. We may have to start again with this file, but let's see how we go. One thing we definitely got to do is define the sort range here. So how are we going to do that? Well, we know the syntax is going to be similar to defining the data range. So let's copy paste. Let's do some recycling here. Copy paste the syntax. Now we're saying sort range. It's a similar thing that we're looking to do. We want the dynamic quality that we've got here using end row. You can go back to the previous stream to see how we define that end row variable using dot cells to give us the row of the last row in the data set. But for the sort range, we don't want the whole data set. We want the specific column that we want to sort by. So what column might that be? Let's suppose we want to sort by, let's have a look here. Let's suppose we want to sort by amount. Yeah, let's suppose we want to sort by amount here. So that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth column. Let's just be absolutely explicit about that. That's the fifth column. Okay, so how does that translate into our syntax? Well, remember, dot cells, rows, then columns. We're starting on the fourth row. This is the column we want to work with. So we can change this to 5. And then also important in the second part of the range, the third part of the range concept that we're working with here, also to change it there. So you can see we've got a 5 here and we've got a 5 here. So we've got a single column selection there. That's how it should work anyway, but it's quite complicated. So let's see how we go. So we can check this now just by hovering the cursor over the variable B4 to F499. I can go into the spreadsheet now. And what's the last entry? Yep, we're on row 499 there. That seems to be accurate. And then for the sort range, again, hover the cursor over the variable and E4 to E499. So they seem to be accurate. We've got the right information into the variable, those addresses that we're working with. Okay, and then we're into our recorded code here, and I'm not saying that this is the most efficient code, and you should go ahead, experiment with this code, and we're going to look at one particular piece of syntax that we're going to experiment with. Experiment with this code. You can definitely make it leaner, get it working for your purposes with less code. Okay, so again, check in here. We've got the value in the variable there. Hitting the F8 key, that seems to be okay. F8 again. Then the value in the variable here seems to be okay. Okay, I'm just going to hit F5 now. F5 is going to play the rest of the macro. And then, yes, something definitely happened there. Oh, can you see what's happened here? Something happened. Okay, so we have sorted by column E, and you can see the data's going from small to large. Yeah, so you can go down column E there. So we've successfully sorted by column E, but what's happened there? Whoa! The first row hasn't been included in the sort. Did anybody spot that? Well, I spotted it because I did a little bit of preparation today, a little bit more than useful than usual, admittedly. So what's going on here? And here we're getting into working with the syntax. You know, I've switched off some of these already, and you can see I can just switch them off by putting the inverted comma there, which is going to make them an annotation, turn them green. But you can see we've got header equals Excel, yes. So Excel is assuming, the way Excel is working it out anyway, that we have a header row in our data range, which of course we know we don't have. And there's some people in the chat pointing this out. Ian and Frank, well done. Very good stuff. So let's change header to Excel, no. What we're expecting to happen now is this rogue piece of data should disappear. It should go, yeah, down to the bottom somewhere anyway. And this time, let's just click the sort button and you can see, yes, our data has disappeared there. So here's your custom sort. Yeah. And not super useful yet. Well, it is useful, but we're only sorting by a particular column. What if we wanted to sort by another column? Well, you could say to your customer, you just go into the VBA editor and change two numbers, but you wouldn't say that to your customer, would you? Because we can never tell the customer to go into the VBA editor. But say we want to sort by date instead, just be very deliberate, take your time here, making sure you're changing the right value set. But if I change these two values, the sort range, not the data range, change the two column values to 2, what's going to happen now? Well, now we should sort by the date column. And we can see sorted by date here. Let's go down, prove it to ourselves. And yes, that looks reasonable enough. Control and down arrow. I'm looking right at the bottom now. And that looks pretty good. So again, hit the sort button again, and we would sort by date. So we've got our custom sort functionality. And if we go into the VBA editor, we can change the sort column. But can you see what I'm getting at here? It would be great to give the customer an option. How about this? Sort by. Okay. And have some selections here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to make a drop-down menu here. I'm not suggesting you put the drop-down menu on the same sheet as the data sheet. You'll put the drop-down menu on another sheet. In fact, let's just put the drop-down menu on another sheet. And let's say date, category, and amount here. Date, category, and amount. Okay, so 3 options for this custom sort. And I'm going to have a drop-down menu here, Alt-AVV on the Windows PC. I have a little challenge. I think I've spoken about this on Members Monday. Can you make a drop-down menu without using the keyboard at all? This is something I've tried to do in the past couple of years. I'm going to try to do it now. Use the Tab key, Alt down arrow to list, hit Enter, Tab down to the next box, then use the arrows. And you can see the selection is moving down. Control and function and page down on my PC. Now I'm going to have to use the mouse to move this, to move the dialog box. Our selection, if you move the arrows, you're going to get an active cell that you can then move around. Then hit enter. And you can see we've now got a drop-down menu. That's a silly little challenge. Or is it that silly? What do you think? That's great practice for using the keyboard to get stuff done in Excel VBA. That's one thing that is a real differentiator, I think. And it's one of those, it's a bit of a vanity thing for me as well. I think I want to appear like I know what I'm doing, particularly when I'm working in front of clients. And I think people can find it really impressive when you're just using the keyboard. It can look really slick and smooth to do that. Alt and down cursor. Then we've got date, amount, and category here. Okay. So my challenge to you are Ian Box ahead of the game, the maestro. I'm loving this. And okay, other ideas here. Yeah. Lee says when you get married, she needs to get you out from that shed more. Lee, she likes me in the shed. Don't worry about it. The funny thing is, she's in this office working quite a lot of the time, funnily enough. What do you think then about this? Now, Ian is on the money with the concept. So here we're flipping back into conceptual mode. What tools have we got to help us do this? And Paul says, I'll let you off having to move the dialogue box. Yep. Yeah, it's live. It's a live production. These things happen. So the match formula here. Okay. Now, it would be best if the customer were able to just select one of these. You know, we wouldn't, you could have column numbers here. And the customer could kind of work it out. Okay, date is column 1, category is column 3. But we don't want to ask the customer to do that. We can do that work for them. So it's super slick and user friendly for them. So what I'm suggesting here, I'm just going to go back to the VBA quickly. So date would be column 2, and then category would be column 4, and amount would be column 5. Just check there the selections we've got. Yep, date, category, and amount. So we can get good stuff in the chat today. I'm loving it. We can put these values in. So 2, 4, and 5. There we go. So now what do you think? If you're watching on replay, stop the video now and think, how can you complete this mechanism? You know, I've kind of put the parts there for you. There's some code in the VBA. There's the beginnings of a mechanism in the spreadsheet. Can you wire this all up and get it all working? And if you're watching live, what ideas do you have in the chat? And Ian has already given us the concept, given us the tool. We could use the match formula to do this. My question to you now then is, okay, but match, yeah, we could use a formula in the spreadsheet, you know, conventional usage of the match formula. There's one more intriguing option, which might have crossed your mind, which is we could use application.worksheet function as well. To keep things simple, I'm not going to use application.worksheet function. And in this context, it wouldn't really be necessary anyway, you know, assuming that we have a sheet that isn't visible to the client. If we have a sheet that isn't visible to the client, and in my files, my example files, I often have a sheet called engine and a sheet called lists. These sheets would be hidden, not visible to the client. If you have one of those in the file you're working in, and if you've designed it, you will have one, then you can just set this mechanism up and use a worksheet formula. Okay, I'm going to do that here by saying selection and then column number here. Let's just get some lines in here. Alt-HBA just gives us all borders here, and then F4. Okay, so is this coming together for you? So say the selection were date. We can then use, we can use VLOOKUP here. So VLOOKUP, we're going to look up the selection. In this table array, we want to return a value from the second column. And then we have an exact match here. And there we go. Date is going to be 2. Category is going to be 4. And amount is going to be 5 there. So any ideas in the chat? Yeah, vPlay, a new word. Sounds like some kind of live streaming platform. Doesn't exist yet. And let's get back into the VBA. So if we're going to have a selection here, we need to get this value from the interface. You know, we're assuming the user is going to be interfacing here and clicking the sort button. So we need to get that value from the interface into our mechanism that's going to find the column number for us. So how about that? Let's see if we can do that. And I'm going to do that here at the top. And what's our concept here? Well, it's fairly simple. A equals B. So sheets task dot range, and it's K8 here. K8 equals, you know what, I'm just going to copy paste, super lazy here. Copy paste this across, and this is going to be data range I9 it is. I9, and then a nice comment here to say get col choice into mechanism to find col number. Something like that. Okay, so now we can test this. So we've got a mount in there now. So if I step through the code, hit the F8 key, now we're expecting the value in K8 should be date now. So again, just a quick test. And that seemed to work well. So again, we've built in some assumptions now. We're using standard cell references here. We're not using named ranges. You could make an argument, of course, for using named ranges here. So again, we're assuming the client isn't going to move things around, isn't going to insert columns and rows. So once again, if this is a real world project, you'll be writing those assumptions down, making sure you're communicating them to the customer. Lee says, yep, the penny is dropping here. How I can use this process to select certain criteria for football markets. Yeah, fantastic stuff, Lee. Yeah, and good stuff from the general as well, seeing those applications there. Okay, so we've got our value into the mechanism, and this is a thing of beauty, you know, a more general point when you're seeing VBA working with the spreadsheet, and then you have a mechanism in the spreadsheet to do something. You know, the best solutions are often a combination of those things. So I've said this many times on 30 for 30, but doing everything in VBA, you know, we could have done application.worksheet function. Doing everything in VBA is not necessarily the solution. A combination of worksheet techniques and formulae and VBA, getting the best from both, getting the right balance, that's where the really powerful solutions lie. So we've got our value into the mechanism. So we're returning the column number that we want to reference. So again, if you're watching on replay, pause the video now, try to finish this off. So I'm going to say col choice here. So again, informative name for the variable, integer variable will do fine here because it's what, 2, 3, or 4. And let's say store col number of chosen column. Okay, and then, so down here equals, and here we go. So range L8, sheets task dot range L8. Range L8 here. Okay, so quick sense check. Yep, L8. Okay, let's step through the code here. So let's change the value again. So sort by, and let's say category this time. And let's go to the code, hitting the F8 key. So the value's going into our mechanism here, and then we're putting it into a variable. Now, it's not absolutely necessary to put this value into a variable. Remember, a variable is just a place to store some information that's going to support our programming in some way. Not absolutely necessary, but for a clean piece of syntax, for me, it's the cleanest way to do it. Yes, we have to define the variable. That's some extra work. That's something else that could go wrong. But you'll see in the syntax in a second, it keeps things nice and clean. So F8 now, so col choice, we've got a value of 4 in there. That value has come from our little table and our mechanism, and category is the 4th column in the file, just to make that absolutely clear, using a column formula there. So you see how those things are working together. You've really got to start appreciating at the end. Now we're getting to the end of the program. synergy you get, like the techniques are more than the sum of their parts, which is why it frustrates me when people obsess about a single technique and say this technique is going to change everything for you. No, an appreciation of how everything works together to create magic is how you're going to really push things forward with Excel VBA. There's this exponential curve, and we've got DC in the chat. We've got some more experienced programs in the chat. It's like an exponential curve. When you start, something combines with something else, magic, and then something combines something else and something else, and then you get this combinatorial explosion, and it's exponential. And before you know it, you're producing routines that are almost too powerful for you to control. You're creating these little monsters, and you're just like trying to tame them to get them working for you. As Jasmine says, I have an idea of a goal. If I can build something, we'll let Chris know, maybe a topic of a video series. Okay, good stuff. Yeah, DC and Jasmine have been having a good chat. Yeah, absolutely. Let me know, Jasmine. DC says, on the subject of formulae versus VBA, once you get really comfortable with VBA, sometimes you lean on it when solutions that can be more formula driven are appropriate. 100% DC. So DC is an experienced programmer. And we had this series on the channel called Excel VBA Chess Challenge. And we tried to build a chess computer. This was last year. We had live streams. We were trying to build a chess computer. We did pretty well, but we didn't get it done. But DC really helped out in that series. Paul Taylor, yeah, great observation here. Paul Taylor is saying it's a bit like Lego. Absolutely. Things that are more than their sum of their parts, yeah? So if you took all the bricks apart, they don't mean anything. It's only when they're all together that they have these emergent properties, things about them that they take on, they assume when they're all together. That's an emergent property. And yes, with Lego, that's how it happens. With VBA, that's how it happens. In organizations, that's how it happens. There's lots of management science theory that I'm interested in. I've got a book right here that my mic's resting on, to do with viewing things in those terms, viewing things systemically and holistically. That's the most powerful way to view things. And a big problem in organizations is that people reduce stuff. Yeah. So they look at parts of situations, try to find problems with the parts, but once you've isolated the parts, they've lost their meaning. You see, this is called systems thinking, by the way. I do recommend it. It's something I teach on and try to apply in my practice. Right, I think we were doing a VBA stream, weren't we? Yes, we were. So we've got our call choice variable here. So where's it going to go to kind of complete the loop here? Not literally, just in a figurative sense. And to get this dynamic functionality working. So if we just slot these in here, the variable's in there twice, and now maybe you're feeling the benefit of having the variable. It keeps the syntax cleaner, easier to understand. So we don't have a number now. We have a variable, but it's an integer variable. It's going to be holding a number. So Excel will understand it as a number. Again, some complicated syntax here, but we've built this up over the past 2 or 3 streams. So if you're just tuned into the stream thinking there's no way I can understand that, just go back a couple of streams. We build this up step by step. Frank says, can't you also use the position in the list with select case to achieve the same result? Yes, we could do a select case, Frank. I would say it's more efficient to use a spreadsheet formula than select case. If you had select case, you would have 5 or 6 lines of code. And also, if you wanted to integrate additional options, you would have to update the VBA. Whereas the way we've done it here, yeah, we'd have to make some slight updates to the VBA, but we could write the code in a way that we'd be able to add many additional options. So yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend select case in this case, but it would be possible. And again, people are having the right internal discussions now. I could do it this way, conditional statement. Yeah, I could do it this way with a formula. Yeah, you're never going to fully answer those questions. That's why I love Excel VBA. It starts as a science. It kind of turns into an art. When you get to a high level, if me and DC had a job, DC would do it one way, I'll do it another way. There'd be some similarities in the way we approach it, but there'd be some differences as well. It becomes a question of style and almost, dare I say it, of kind of philosophy. You know, what's your coding philosophy? So you'll be kind of dealing with those, with those. It gets deep, guys. It gets deep, Excel VBA. When you spend as much time thinking about it as I do, whew, it gets deep. Okay, so have we got our mechanism working now? Sense check on the code. This looks reasonable enough. The syntax does. The rows look reasonable. The data range looks reasonable. Okay. Looks reasonable enough. So we're going to go for glory here. Sort by category. It's not currently sorted by category. So if I hit sort, what happens? Sorted by category. Hello. Sort by date, please. Sort. Whoa. Now we're talking. Sort by amount. And there we go. Now I want to throw an additional challenge at you, which is, what about the sort order here? Yeah, you see how we've sorted from low to high here in terms of the amounts. So that's Excel ascending or Excel descending. What if I wanted to change the sort order? Now we won't deal with this in 30 for 30, but what about another option here? Order. And you could say high to low, or low to high. That's something else you could deal with. I've got client files with this exact mechanism in. Choose your sort column and then choose, do you want to sort high to low? Do you want to sort low to high? Also got plenty of client files with using the same thing for filtering. So filtering is another very kind of clicky thing to do, isn't it? So to be able to have a button, just filter out some entries, wouldn't work well with this setup, would it? Because we'd lose some of these rows, some of these cells that contain essential information. But that's another thing for you to think about. You can use this kind of mechanism to get things filtering. Good. Right. Any final questions in the chat then, guys? Any final questions in the chat? Lee says we're cooking on gas. Yeah, I think we've got some good momentum now. Yeah, somewhere there's, yeah, here we go. So where it says Excel ascending here, so you'd have to manage this somehow. And that looks like a string, doesn't it? It looks like a piece of text. That's not a piece of text. That's some kind of different variable. I think Excel actually recognizes that as a number somehow. So just warning you about that. But again, what would you do if you encountered that problem? Tap into our meta skills so you don't give up. That's where you got to go online and just Google it. Excel VBA sort ascending, descending. You're going to be able to find some information to help you there. DC says yes, was about to suggest using some of this for filtering. Yeah, it's all about just eliminating unnecessary clicking, unnecessary manual work, whether that's sorting, filtering, generating reports. You know, that's one thing. But what you'll find is once you eliminate all that manual work, suddenly you've got all this free mental bandwidth for actually thinking about stuff and being creative, getting new insights on your work. Suddenly, you're not thinking about making the spreadsheet work. You're thinking about making your business, your organization, whatever you're working on, making that work. So that's why VBA, you know, it's definitely an efficiency improvement, definitely, but it's not just an efficiency improvement. You know, I've seen this all the time on my client projects. Once you free up the time, the mental bandwidth, it helps them to think about things so much more clearly. And very soon they're saying, okay, if we can do this, can we do that as well? And then can we do that? And before you know it, you've transformed the way they're actually working with data. Yeah, DC says this is an enum. What would this be? A variable? I'm not sure about the actual programming syntax, but it could be tricky doing this, but it's definitely possible. Frank says sort order is also possible with select case, so well done. Jasmine said this could be used as a stock screener too. Yeah, absolutely. This kind of setup we've got here, you know, it could be used in any number of contexts. You know, that's why I've chosen it for our VBA project in this series. I've done this job so many times, separating information out across sheets and then doing some sorts, producing some reports, whatever it might be. E by num. E-buy gum. Yeah, yeah. We've got some. We've got the Yorkshire boys in the chat. God, Yorkshire people. Jeez. No, I love you guys. Don't worry. Okay, good stuff. So I think we'll wrap it up there. So where are we going with this? Well, the last thing we're going to do with this file is think about the formatting. Okay, so I wouldn't be comfortable presenting this to a client. So how in VBA would we get this formats working, in the sense that we want it to do the formatting for us? Yeah, we don't want to go in and have to do it manually. So let's look at that. And that's another example of something I do all the time in Excel VBA on my projects. Let's have one more look at Members Monday. This is going ahead on Monday. If you like this stuff, you are going to love Members Monday. We've got plenty of members in the chat today. Here's a quick summary of the stuff you get. You go ahead, click join below this video. We would love to see you in Members Monday. So I can't see any further questions, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Number 26 tomorrow. We'll be on part 26. Take care, guys. Look after yourself, the people around you. I'll be here again tomorrow waiting for you at 4 o'clock UK time. Take care, guys.